Hi, stamping friends, it's Sherry Parker coming to you live on Wednesday, May 6th. Happy May. It's a great week here for all of us who love Stampin' Up! Because the new catalog went live yesterday. So many great things, and I know you're gonna really love all the new product. And if you would like a catalog, let me know. I am having an open house tomorrow night, so you can always stop by and pick one up then. But if not, let me know and I can certainly mail one to you. Got that coming up. Also, there's a great joining special from Stampin' Up! Going on through the month of May. You'll want to check that out. It's online at my website, sherrythomas.stampinup.net. And then last, I'm forming an in-color club. Like a few more people to join, but it's a really great way to get all the wonderful new in-colors, the pads, the paper, cardstock, these new shimmer brushes, blends, all the different things. Really great way. And then you can come and make cards every month too for free. So a lot of fun. Hope you'll think about it. But tonight I've got a really cute card to share with you. And I'm going to turn my camera over and we'll get started. All right, now that the new catalog is live, I can actually show you the inside pages. I wasn't able to until now. But this Scenic Coast Suite is it is definitely hands down my favorite new products in the catalog. So we're going to be using this tonight. I have used it before on a card that I showed several weeks ago, but we're going to use it in a little bit different way tonight. So really cute suite. There's also a lot of really other nice things in this book as well. So we'll get started. Here's a little close-up of this paper. You can see the iridescent foil, just gorgeous. And we're going to use this sheet here tonight for the card that we're making. And a few other products that we'll be using, scalloped blooms for the greeting. And then we're also going to be using the Sunset Coast dies. And if you remember, a few weeks ago, we made this card using those same dies and the same pack of paper. Really, really love how this all comes together. And I hate cutting the paper. So tonight we'll be using almost an entire sheet for our card also. Okay, so that's all the product that we're using. I did want to share a little bit about the construction of this card. So this is the card that we're making tonight. You can see it's a fun fold, but it also is a lot of, has detail where like the horizon of the sunset actually continues over through the card. And I wanted to show you how I did that. It's really, the card actual design was inspired by my friend Susie Brunk. She sent me this card and I loved how it opens up. It's just really, really cute. So that was my inspiration for this card tonight. I will set that aside and then we'll kind of go through the different parts and pieces. And if you comment in the comments that you want the dimensions, I can send you pictures of these too. So, or you can take a screenshot, of course, as well. So for the base of the card, you're gonna need a piece that is 7 1/4 by 5 1/4. On the long side, you're gonna score at 4 1/4 and 5 3/4, okay? And then I like to use the same color of cardstock for these little bridge pieces. You wouldn't have to, but I think it gives it a nice seamless look that way. But you're gonna need 4 of those that you can call them like arms or bridges, what have you. These are going to measure 1 inch tall by 7 1/4 length. So it's the same length as this. And you're going to score at the same spot, which is at 4 1/4 and 5 3/4. Okay, you need 4 of those. And then an optional piece here, I've got 2 strips and you can see where I've just layered, I've used those as layers. And these measure 1 1/4 by 5 1/4. So that is all the components of the base. Then we'll talk about the designer series paper. So this probably looks a little intimidating, but think about this. So you start with a piece of 6x6 designer series paper. Now, if you are not using a pattern, if your pattern is a random pattern on your paper, then you don't need to worry about how you're cutting this. But because I wanted this horizon to be on one of these little bridges across, because I wanted that horizon to go all the way across, I kind of had to gauge where it was going to fall in how the height of this card. So what I did is I trimmed a little bit off the base and a little bit off the top. And at the end of the day, you're going to want, so I just cut like a little bit off the bottom here. And then at the end of the day, I want it to measure 5 1/4 inches tall. Okay, so however you get there, so then I'm ending up with a piece like this. So that's the first thing you do. Then from this sheet here, you're gonna cut 1 inch off the left and 1 inch off the right. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to create this panorama here. So we'll cut 1 inch from the left and then 1 inch from the right. And then we're left with this piece here. So these are gonna be, these two pieces are going to be like bookends, okay? So this piece is essentially where these other pieces come from. And what you'll do is you'll cut 2 1/2 inches, okay? So these pieces measure 2 1/2 inches wide, and these are all about 1 3/8 inches wide. So you're gonna just cut that at 2 1/2. And then height-wise, they're 3/4 inch, all of these, okay? So 3/4 by 2 1/2, 3/4 by 1 3/8. And so there was not a real exact science in doing this, but because I knew I wanted this to fall, you know, in this section, I did my 3/4 inch at the bottom and I did the 3/4 inch at the top. And then I just kind of eyeballed the other pieces, okay? Because at the end of the day, I want them to line up. So after you do all that, you'll end up with a little bit of waste, but just hold on to it because like this piece here, we're gonna use as an accent piece. And then you can use scraps to make a card using all these pretty scraps because they have this iridescent foil on them. They're really nice. Okay, so we've got all the pieces cut, and now we can do the fun part, which is sticking together there, putting the card together. So I've laid all these out like this, and so we'll do that after we put the base of the card together. Okay, so I've got my blue base. This is Blueberry Bushel, and I'm going to fold on my score lines like that, use my bone folder, all right? And then I've got all these strips, and remember there's 4 of them, so you're gonna just kind of do an accordion fold for all these. Okay, so just fold on your score lines that you did. And then you can adhere these to the card. And the way you can do this, you can use either your glue or you can use tape. I actually did it both ways, and I found that tape was a little bit more stable. So I'm gonna use a little tape here and a little tape here, and I'll show you what you're gonna do. So I would start at the top and then put this down like that. So you have adhesive here and you have adhesive here. And you see how you open that? And then we'll do the same thing at the bottom of the card. This helps you kind of line things up a little bit better. And then we'll fill in with these two. So put our tape and our tape. So I'm eyeballing. I'm not a huge perfectionist. I know some people are. And don't worry if some of these are hanging over the edge. It's okay, because what we'll do is we'll go ahead, we'll trim those off. So not to worry if you're feeling like, oh, I've got these little pieces hanging over, we will get those. All right, so you can see this one's kind of off. So, oops. I didn't tack that down very well, did I? All right, see how that opens and closes. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and trim down where the cardstock is overlapping. So you can really see it on this one right here. I must have been a little overzealous in my scoring or something. And then I have a few that are hanging over here. So just trim those off and we'll be ready to put this card together. So there's your card base. And it's really simple to put together. Okay, so next what we're gonna do is use our 2 purple pieces, these 2 strips, and what we'll do is adhere our left and right, call them bookends if you will, and we will adhere those to the very front of the card. And this will cover up all those little lines. So you won't even be able to see those once we put this on here. So there's the left side, and then we'll do the same thing for the right side. And I just love this paper. I shared this card last night in a group that I'm in. So it's funny because it's a little bit different every time you do it. And that's what I love about a handmade card. Okay, now we get to put all these fun little strips here. And what I like to do is just kind of line them up so that makes it a lot easier when I'm adhering them. So you could use glue again or tape, whichever you prefer. And you're just gonna fill in really easily. So we'll do our top little strip, which is our sky. And then we've got some clouds. When I was in Florida a week or 2 ago, we saw some sunsets like this, and it's amazing when there's clouds in the sky, how beautiful it can be. It can be pinks and purples, and we saw that. It's gorgeous. Okay. This is my horizon line. It doesn't line up perfectly, but I think it's pretty close. All right, we're at the end here, and it's probably kind of boring watching me tape these on, but you get the idea. So you're gonna tape all those to your card front, and the base is done. Isn't that really cute? All right, so for the back of your card, if you wanna write something to someone, you probably need, to have a spot for that. And since this is a dark card, I'm going to put a piece of white on the back. This is a 1/4 sheet, just trimmed down, and I'm gonna glue, this is one of my little extra scrap pieces from when I was cutting the designer series paper. And I'm gonna glue some of that down and trim it off. And we'll put that on the back. So then you can write a nice little message, and there you go. All right, we're almost done. One thing I did is I went ahead and cut out the boat. So this little guy is one of the dies that we used. If you remember last time, I dropped my card here, but we used the lighthouse for that one. So this time we're using the boat. And what I'm doing is just cutting the boat right out of that. So that's all we're gonna use of that piece. And then I love Wink of Stella, as you probably know. So I just put a little sparkle on our sailboat, almost like you were looking out at the sunset, and everything has a nice little glow and sparkle to it. All right, so we're gonna glue him to the horizon here. And the best way to do that, because you do have gaps in between these little bridges, is I'll put a mini glue dot at the top and the bottom. And then that way it'll grab 2 of those layers like that. See. And then last but not least, we'll add a greeting. So I'm gonna make a birthday card tonight. Last night I did a celebrate card. So really, and I think this would be a really nice masculine card too. So you could customize the greeting, or maybe have no greeting. So I'm gonna stamp happy birthday using blueberry bushel. And I've pre-cut a rounded rectangle with this wonderful punch. Love that, love punches. And then to make our kind of layered look, I had pre-punched one of those in the blueberry bushel, and I'm going to just, by cutting it in half, you can create a little border there. It's kind of a cheater border. And there you go. We will adhere that to the front of our card. Again, use some dimensionals. Love our dimensionals. And I'll put one at the top because again, we've got these funny little gaps. So you just want to make sure it can hold on to something. And then if you wanted to add these gorgeous sequins, come in this same suite. And I just love the colors. So we'll mix up the colors. We'll use kind of this orangey red and maybe kind of this shimmery pink. So there you go. What do you think? I think this is a really cool card. Again, oh, here's the Celebrate one. Just a really unusual, fun card to send to somebody. So anyone who comments on or shares will automatically be entered in to win this card next time I go on my Facebook Live. So you'll want to make sure you do that. And if you want the dimensions, make sure you comment dimensions in the comments, and then I will be happy to send those to you. All right, so last week we made this bouquet card, if you remember, and it's a real pretty card. This would be great for Mother's Day this coming weekend. We made a coordinating envelope, and we are going to draw the winner of last week's card, and everyone who commented on and shared last week is in here. Lisa Hammond, you are the winner. So I will send this to you, or if you come to my open house on Thursday, which you said you might, I might just give it to you in person, which would be fun. So awesome. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it so much. And I hope to see some of you on Thursday at the open house. And like I said, if you need a catalog, please reach out to me. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care. Good night.